one person wrote back to me. They said, Coach, we're getting ready for our game, but if you want to give me a call at 10 o'clock tonight, give me a call. And that was Clifton Clyde High School. And he started talking to me, and the first thing he said was, are you an offensive guy or a defensive guy? I was a defensive tackle in high school, defensive coordinator at Deering, always doing defense. And I told him that. He said, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to hate 8-man football. Because no matter what defensively, you're never going to feel sound. I hung up the phone with him an hour later. I called Dean and said, Dean, I don't want to do defense anymore. I want to do the offense. He said, sure, no problem. So that's kind of where we started. What we want to talk about today is things about our program that we have found over the years work for us and what our goals are in the program. And then get a little bit into our offensive philosophy, offensive approach. I am not a technology person. I was able to know how to get 3 clips into a video. But just show you our base offense. We are a run-heavy offense. Anybody that's played us can tell you that. And we are pretty simple. We have maybe in our base offense, we have 3 running plays. And I have no problem. I'm stubborn as they come. I have no problem running those plays over and over and over and over again. And we'll talk about why. And then just some of those special things that we feel we want to do and that is good for our kids. Oh, of course, it's going to work. Oh, I turned it off. All right, so just our contact information if you want, and I'll throw this up again. So Coach Deeplant, he's on here. Turns out he's pretty good at this basketball thing too. So he's up at Husson right now coaching the McDonald's game. John Lamp, that's me, I call the offense. Jason Weber is right here. That's Coach TikTok. He is our defensive coordinator. So the objectives I have for you today is to share a little bit of what we do. I want to show you our weekly schedule and talk about how we break down practices. I feel we do some pretty unique things. We, after the first Friday of preseason, the first day you can put pants on, the only time we wear pants for the rest of the year is on Friday night, Saturday, whatever day we play. We don't wear pants. We don't block do any live blocking. We don't do any live tackling in our practice. And we'll talk about that in a while. Then basically a foundation of our offense, everything we do starts with our base formation that we decided is going to be great for us and the players we had, and that's tank. That's the formation we call it. And the number 1 play we run is power. We're going to run power as much as we can. But the flip side of that, we also have some very talented athletes and some skilled players that are very good athletes, very good players. So we have the capability to kind of get out of our heavy run formation, go to some spread type formations, and really stress some people offensively. And then hopefully we have time, some questions if you want, and we're an open book. We'll talk to anybody about football anytime. If there's something, we had a pretty good defense this year. We actually finally figured out defense. If you want to get into any of that, if there's time, we are more than willing to share that information with you. So our 8-man journey, kind of a little bit different, right? We kind of already talked about this. 2018, developmental league, we finished the year with 19 players in the playoff games. And I think probably 6 of them were seniors, and we knew we were going to 8-man. It was only a matter of time. 8-man's coming, it's definitely happening. So we started transitioning to 8-man then. We found in the time I was at Old Orchard from 2017, 2018, we were competitive with almost every team we played outside of some of those few exceptional teams in Class D. We could be competitive for about half. We'd have stretches where we'd be good, and then basically it became a battle of attrition. Our kids, we had our key players would never get off the field. Special teams, offense, defense, no matter what it was, they were on the field the whole time because we didn't have depth. We weren't able to develop depth because we couldn't have any JV games. And so we were really in a tough place. And usually by the 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, teams start to pull away from us. Biggest reason, players are out of position or players are undersized. We are blessed with a lot of things in Old Orchard. Beautiful views, great summers, great athletes right now. What we are not blessed with is size. We do not have big kids. It's just one of those things. In our middle school, we have some big kids coming up to kind of complement that. But this is kind of where we're at. We go into a game with a 125-pound guard who could probably not do 10 push-ups because we needed to have 5 linemen. And so we were really struggling. One injury, and I'm sure a lot of you guys felt this way too. If you had one injury, depending on who it was, you're making 5 subsequent moves to replace that one player. And you're taking strength from one area, and now that's a weakness because you're going to move him to be here. And so 11 man for us wasn't going to be an option. And as I mentioned, we would have really struggled to have moved forward and continue with football. And unfortunately, our kids would have had to go to someplace else if they wanted to play football. Where we are now, every year, no matter what, our roster's been between 25 and 30 kids. There are times on our roster, in our practice, especially the beginning of the year, this year, I think we started with 31 kids, 32 kids, and that's healthy. I think one trend is that, and one thing I would love to see us as 8-man coaches do is try to remove the stigma of 8-man is what you do to get your program healthy until you can get back to real football. Screw that, right? We have 25 to 30 kids. In 2019, we played in a state championship game. Got absolutely destroyed by a much better team. We gave up 600 yards rushing, I think, right?
Yeah, you didn't bring that up.
Yes, I did. All right. And we were just outmanned, outmatched, outclassed, everything. Okay? Well, if you look back at those teams that were successful, that first 10 teams, Jeremy, you might be the same way. I don't think, all the teams that are successful, I don't think I've seen a huge increase in numbers. Mount Ararat's still sitting around 25 kids. We're still sitting around 25, 30. You guys are still sitting right around 25 to 30. That is what we have as a community. That's what we have as schools. You know, I'd be interested to see if you guys get a big bump after the success you had. Have you had a big bump in numbers?
We're 25 to 30.
Yeah. Same? Yeah. Yeah. And so what we have to do, and I agree a lot with the MPA, and I think I will say this. I know there's some debate of, you know, the MPA looks down on us by having our state championship a week early, this, that. We look at it the other way. They're wanting to highlight us and give our kids the best experience possible by having us on our standalone weekend. All right? And that's our opinion, and that's how we feel about it. Dean is pretty connected with them, being our athletic director. I'm a longtime wrestling official, so I have a lot of communication with them. I'm the assigner for wrestling in Maine. And so we have a pretty good, different kind of relationship with them. And we feel like they really support 8-man football. The one thing I won't disagree with is last year when they came out with, for lack of a better term, the Shepherd's rule. Right? If you have a roster of 30, 35, you're going to get a letter suggesting you go back to 11. And I'm going to look at it this way. Why? Because somebody says, oh, you have this many, so therefore you should play 11. Well, we have 190 kids in our building. If we have 35, they're a heck of a lot different than how many kids are at your school?
600.
600. Our 35 are a heck of a lot different than Yarmouth's 35. Okay? Much bigger pool to pull from. And so we love 8-man football. And even if we had a bigger roster, we were able to play 4 or 5 JV games last year. We are a very young team. I think we played in the state championship game, we played 3 seniors. The rest were, we played 3 or 4 juniors. The rest are all sophomores and 1 freshman. We're very young. Our JV kids, the kids that play in the JV game, those are kids that may not get on a varsity field in a starting offensive or defensive position until they're juniors or seniors, because we're pretty deep. And so this allows them to continue to grow, continue to compete and play. Kids, more than anything, they just want to play. Does every kid want to be a starter on offense? Yes. Does every kid want to be the quarterback, tailback? Obviously. Right? But at the bottom of it, kids want to be kids, and they want to play, and they want to be competitive. It allows us to develop our depth. We have some kids playing JV games that maybe we thought at the beginning of the year they would help us, and they just kind of fizzled out after the first week, and the energy kind of worn off. But they were able to continue playing, continue developing that depth, and in the long run, really, it's only going to make our program that much better. We've been very fortunate. We've had some really great group of kids. There have been 3 state championship games in the state. We've played in tools. All right. I'm not going to sit up here and say there's anything that I do, anything that Jason does, anything that Dean does. We have a group of very committed players, and we are very blessed to have very talented, athletic kids who really, if we tell them to do this, they're going to do it. Right? They just love it. We have kids in the right positions, and so we've been pretty lucky. But you know, this is where we're at. This is the reality. We went from not being in the playoffs for how long? In 11-man, right? To playing in 2 out of 3 state championship games. All of that excitement has created commitment from our players. And how many of you have heard the term buy-in? We want kids to buy in. I hate that term buy-in, right? This comes from my education and my master's work in education. Buy-in is what you get when people want to go along. What you want and what we want genuine commitment from the kids. Right? We want kids that no matter what, they're committed to our overall goals and our overall program. Great to have individual goals, but those individual goals can't supersede our team goals. Monday after the state championship game, we had 15 kids in the weight room out of 26. And that's continued. We now have 6 or 7 8th graders coming over every day, 4 days a week, to work out and to get stronger and get better. We have athletes that are playing for the first time ever, and it's weird, right? Like, you see our offense, those of you that play against us have seen us. We run the ball as much as we possibly can. That's our belief, that's what we want to do. But we also know that if our athletes, if our receivers are doing their job, our tight ends are doing their job, and we're successful running the ball, when they do get an opportunity, that opportunity is going to be a big one. Our first year, we had a junior, 1,000-point scorer in basketball, first time he ever played football. He had 17 receptions on the year. 13 of them were touchdowns. Same thing this year. You know, we have a freak athlete as a wide receiver. Second year playing football. Unfortunately, he's a senior. I don't know what his receptions and touchdowns were, but he was more touchdowns than he was anything else. You know, we have those players. And then, like we said, our athletes in our building want to play football. I think we have pretty much every athlete in our building that we want, we have playing football. And they don't care that we don't run the ball. I thought after that first year, some of these athletes would see what type of football we play, and they'd be like, I don't want to do that. I want to go play fast break basketball. But no, they want to come and play football. We have 4 goals that we do every year, and they don't change. Number 1 goal, we want to have a winning record. And some of this, you know, some of the stuff that other coaches are talking about today, you know, Coach Dexter, I see on the shoulders of many people. I believe that, you know, we all pull from people that have been in our lives. When I was at Deering as an assistant, the head coach at Deering was my high school coach, and our goals were simple: have a winning record, make the playoffs, host the playoff game. That was it. And beat the other school the next year. All right, that was the only goals we had. So we kind of carried those over. Number 1 goal, have a winning record. That's it. It doesn't matter what it looks like, we want to have a winning record. Number 2, we want to host a playoff game. Used to be make playoffs, but in the past couple of years, every team makes the playoffs. So what kind of goal is that? We want to host a playoff game, have the opportunity to wear our black jerseys one more time. Play the first weekend in November. This past year, if we played in the first weekend in November, if my math is right, that was the regional final. Am I right? And that was our only goal. Let's get to that game and then go out and compete and see what happens. And then finally, we want constant improvement. And this is something we talked about. I played for Coach Cosgrove. Every day at practice, you say, during preseason, if we're not getting better, we're getting worse. And that's something that kind of stuck. And so we want to constantly improve. One little thing every day. We'll talk about it a little later. We really challenged our kids after week 4 this past year. Because we were 2-2. We lost a close football game a year ago, 26-20. Yeah. We got blown out by Mountain Valley. Outstanding, tough offense to deal with. But then we started looking at some of the things that we were doing in games that weren't helping us. And so we're hard on our kids. I'm hard on our kids. We challenge them to improve on these things and to see what would happen. We wanted to earn the right to play Deerfield again. We wanted to earn the right to play Mountain Valley again, to see if we had made the corrections and see if we had gotten any better. Our weekly schedule is probably very similar to you guys. Saturdays, we played all of our home games. We played on Thursday night. Absolutely love Thursday night games. It's just like one of those things. Again, like, let's find a way to make 8-man football stand out a little bit more. For us, that was easy, right? I mean, Southern Maine, extreme shortage of officials. People had to move to Thursdays, so we were always first to volunteer. How many of you use Huddle Assist? Isn't that great? Huddle Assist, if you don't know, you send your film out within, I don't know, 15 hours, you get it back, all your stats done, all your stats broken down. There are a couple of features that they do for 11-man football that just simply they don't do for 8-man, which kind of sucks. Like they'll give you the formations and the 11-man, and if you tag it, the next game you send out, when they see that formation, they enter the name of the formation for you to save you a step. But we've been using Huddle Assist for 3 years now, and it just makes our life a lot easier. We probably don't do half the stuff we can do with Huddle. Jason uses it a ton on defense. I am simple-minded, I guess. I'm kind of old school. I write things down over and over again, and by writing it down over and over again, the same thing, it gets burned into my brain. So I don't, when I tried using it with the computer years ago when we first got Huddle, I found I wasn't knowing it. I didn't know as much about the team we were playing, and so I scrapped it, and I just write everything down. Sunday, the most important day, donuts. All right, we get together on Sunday morning. We watch film individually on our own on Saturdays, and if I'm being honest, Sunday, Friday night, Thursday night after the game, we load it, and we're probably up until 1:30 in the morning texting each other about what happened in the game, plays, because we're all watching it that night. But we break down our film ourselves, we do what we do as individuals, and then on Sunday we get together and talk 9 in the morning. One of us, usually me, will go someplace and get a couple dozen donuts for 3 of us. That's why we look like we do. And then we'll go. And then we have kids, some kids will come in and lift on Sundays. Mostly one, because he's my kid, he doesn't have a choice, he has to lift. So while they're lifting, we're in the next room, we have to film up, we're going over some things, pointing out some things that we see that we want to attack. We're kind of formulating our game plan. We're probably there. I get there around 8, spend an hour by myself, it's got like quiet time. Dean and Jason show up around 9, 9:30. We're probably there till about noon, 11:30 or 12, and we've kind of set our week in motion. Monday, obviously we have our JV games this year, but we also do conditioning. It's the only daily condition of the week. And really, I don't even know how much of conditioning it is. We start out the first Monday after the exhibition game with 8 110s. And then each week we add 2. Now, normally, in the past, when I was at Deering, we would go out and we would time the kids. Coach Stilson would stand on one end, I'm on the other, we had our stopwatches. Kids have to do their 110s in 20 seconds, and they get 40 seconds of rest, and we're running. And we just keep adding. This past year, we had great leaders on our team. We have just a great group. They go out and run on their own. So we get more time to talk. Kids go out and run. Sometimes it's more than a jog, more of a jog than a sprint. But they're getting their bodies loose, working out some of those kinks from the game. And then we watch our game film. And our game film is probably the most important thing we do in a week. The expression I'm sure you've used or heard, the eye in the sky does not lie. And we're hard on our kids in film. Probably the worst film sessions are games after we win. Because we need kids to understand, yes, we win, but this wasn't good. Whether it was we're stepping with the wrong foot, we're not doing a good job with our down blocks, we're not tackling well, things like that. So Mondays are very important. Tuesdays are all defense. We don't do any live tackling. Every single one of our practices lasts anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's it. And this, we kind of started, but defensively, we have our stretch, we have our ball drills, where we work on just turnover circuits, and then we do a 10-minute tackling, team tackling period. We have 2 drills. We started out the first 4 games, we were averaging over 40 missed tackles a game. There's a reason why we lost 2 games. A, they were good teams. B, we weren't doing the right thing. That's a bad combination. And so we do a lot of tackling. We do a drill we call C drill. All right, SEE, shock, extend, escape. And every kid does it. They shock, extend, escape on a bag, on a shield, and then they tackle a wheel. And the other half of the team, we have a big 30-pound sandbag, and they just line up 5 yards. And the other reason we were not making tackles is that we were not running our legs. We would just go up to tackles, ball carriers, wrap, and kind of drop or stop. And, Mountain Valleys of the world, Deer Hills of the world, good running backs, they're running right through us, and we're not making tackles. So we just said, let's go, run through the back. And we do that for 10 minutes. We do an individual and then team. And that's it. That's all we do. Wednesday's an offensive day. We don't do any live blocking. When we do individual for offensive line, I'm the offensive line coach. Our kids in 15 minutes get over 30 reps in 15 minutes. We partner up. Each pair has a shield. We right foot drive 5 yards, give the bag over, right foot drive. And we do each step 3 times. Then we'll reach right, reach left. And it's fast paced. As soon as I blow the whistle, they bench it off, give the bag, and get set. We down block, because that's really important in our offense. And one thing we added this year, 2 things we added, because we were really struggling with it, we were not blocking linebackers. Alright, we'd get down to tech level, our kids would take great steps, and then they just stand there, because we never practiced it. So we started adding a down block. We put a bag 5 yards off, inside shape, and we're down blocking, working on just getting down and running through the bag, instead of just getting to it and positioning. And then we do cut block, and that's it. And we do all that, 3 reps of each drill. We do a trap block, even though we don't run trap. I've had a hard time figuring out how to do that in 8-man and feel comfortable with it. But we pull. And so we do that trap block drill 1 time each way, and then we get right into team. We go to base run, 20 minutes. We run 30 plays, 35 plays. What's that? Yeah, it's not adding more, right? We approach, as I said, we don't do conditioning during the week. Our practice is conditioning. We are very fast paced. We want to play fast paced, and so we practice that way. In our base run period, we go 15, 20 minutes, and we basically go through our formations. We start with our tank formation. This year we added I, and then we go to our spread formations for our stretch runs and our quarterback counters. And every play we have will line up how we think the other team's going to line up defensively. Because sometimes with what we do, it's kind of a crapshoot. The team plays this front the entire year, and then they play something completely different against us. And so we try to have it very simple for our kids. But we'll run every play 3 times. We have 3 tailbacks. So when we're in our tank formation, I'll show you every single play. We run power, we run zone, and we run stretch. And we run every single play both ways 3 times. We run power to the unbalanced side, power to the weak side. Thursday is our soup to nuts day. Again, fast pace. 5 minutes every special team. Even though we kind of go back and forth. Our first year, we never punted, and we never kicked off. Every single kickoff was an onside kick. Every single punt, every single 4th down, we were lining up and going for it, or if we did line up in a formation to punt, we just ran stretch. And we just didn't believe it. The main reason, we didn't have a kicker, we didn't have a punter. This past year, we had a good punter, we had a kicker, we had good athletes, we kicked off, and we punted. Sometimes not so good, but we didn't cover it that well, but it is. And then Friday is game, and like I said, we watch film. Back to Thursday real quick, we probably run offensively. I think we do half hour of offense, half hour or so of defense. Offensively, I'm running, if we add up the base run, we do team pass, and then team, there's probably 60 to 75 plays that we run in a half hour.
You mentioned you play a lot on Thursday nights. How do you adjust that when you play Thursday nights?
When we play on Thursday nights, we'll just slide things back. Instead of doing individual, we kind of combine. Tuesday will be an defensive focus, and then we end with offensive individual and base. And so we kind of just change things that way.
Do you guys have any opponents on Saturday? Do you have to ever play on Saturday?
Who plays on Saturday? Telstar and Soccer Trick. The only 2 teams without lights. And so if we have to play them there, we play on Saturdays. And then if we do Saturdays, on Friday, we just do a very short version of our Thursday practice.
Okay.
Just run through a few basic things to make sure it's still fresh. And we just transition that way. Our philosophy is our whole program. All right, we have kind of some things. We will play fast, and we're going to do that 2 different ways. Number 1, we're going to put athletes in the field. Our kids have learned quickly. If they can't run, they're going to have a hard time getting on the field for us. Even our offensive line, We want to play fast with speed on the field, but we also offensively, we want to play fast with how we're getting plays in and how we're attacking teams. You know, we're a no huddle team. We don't huddle. We have a very simple system that kids learn, and thankfully, blocking scheme wise, after that first year of 8-man, we pretty much broke down our blocking scheme to 3 different schemes. We have our power, which is just down or double team, and we have zone, which is just man on, and then we have our counter, and that's about it. And outside of our passing stuff, and our passing stuff is very simple. It's basically just all 90s 3-step protection.
Other than your zone stuff, you rule block?
Here's the thing about rule block. I'm not very smart when it comes to it, right? I played, and every Monday our coach would give us a blocking sheet, and it's this. We were at Deering, we were a zone team, and we never got into with our kids, you know, you block, you two are responsible for 0 and 1 backside, you two are responsible for 2 and 3. We draw, I get blocking sheets all the time, and I say, if it's this, you do this. And so we don't necessarily have rules, but and we don't have hard rules. Pretty much we're blocking man on to down inside, for the most part. Unless we play other teams, unless we have to game plan for a player or for what other team's doing, how we block each play could be different. Sometimes in our power, we'll go down, down on power. Other times, we're gonna double the tackle. Other times, depending on the front, other times we might what we call star block, where the guard is gonna reach, the tackle is gonna, the other guard, we call him tackle, is gonna punch through the shoulder and then release and seal the linebacker. So it's all, we're like what we call a game plan type deal. We're gonna change it week to week depending on who we're playing. We wanna play violent. I originally wrote play physical, but we talk about violence with our kids all the time. There's no sugarcoating. Football is a violent game. We tell our kids that this is the only time in your life where it's legally acceptable to go out and be violent with somebody and just try to physically do whatever within the rules. We're very clear on that. But we want our kids playing violent. We want our kids blocking violently. We want our kids tackling. We want our kids running the ball violently. And we have a couple kids who are just absolutely friggin' fearless with their bodies and are just sometimes dangerous to themselves more than anything, just the way they play. More importantly, we gotta play smart. Like I said, we went through a stretch where even when we were winning games, we were averaging over 40 mental errors a game. And that is very hard, whether it was offensive or defensively. 40 mental errors a game when we're playing good teams like Dirigo, Mountain Valley, Miranda Cook. Those are very hard to overcome. And so after week 4, we challenged kids, and it wasn't a pleasant film session. We played Mountain Valley, and that Monday after, it wasn't pleasant. We're brutally honest with our kids, sometimes to a fault, and we pointed out all this stuff. And we made them mark down every single, on the whiteboard. Jason Sun is our center. He was sitting next to the board, so he became the mental error guy. Every time I said mental error, he'd put a mark on the board. And so we said, look, we're gonna go out and we're gonna beat some teams on our schedule if we don't change. But we're not gonna beat the better teams on our schedule. We need to take this, and this is on you. This is on ownership, right? And so, playing smart, the most important thing we do. And we want to play with swagger. I grew up in the, 80s, I'm 47, the height of the U. I love swagger. I think that's so important for kids to understand the difference between swagger and cockiness. And we want our kids to feel so confident. We're going to have them so confident in what their job is and what the plan is during the week, that when they step on that field, they know that, look, you're the best athlete ever. You're this, you're that. Play with it. Believe in yourself. Get excited. Do whatever. Play with swagger. And try and teach kids the difference between swagger and, what does my son say, drip? Right? That's a huge thing, right? Right? We want to play the right way. We want to play with swagger. We don't care. When we first started with this, kids are like, Coach, they're going to know we're running every play. Great. Who cares? They still have to stop you. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I grew up at a different time when I was playing in high school as an offensive lineman. My coach would be like, look, you got 2 jobs. Number 1, see how soon you can get their back up in the game. And number 2, see how many times you can tell the kid exactly what the play we're running is. And that's what we believe in. That's kind of the way I approach this, right? Coach, can you not yell the play? We have signals for every play we have. I think I've used a signal one time. I just stand there and yell out the play. Take right, power. Coach, they're gonna know. Okay, great, let them know. Our offensive approach, there's a good story behind this picture here. What we want to do as coaches and for our kids, number one, we gotta simplify the game for our players. As much as we possibly can. I believe, if we get time to it, I believe in, I'm gonna throw as many different formations at a coach as I possibly can in a film. Because you're gonna prepare for it. You have to take time out of your week, if we're running formations, to have your kids at least aware of what it is. But in doing that, we have to make it really easy. So if we're running power, we start everything with power, and we connect every other play after that. This play is blocked just like power. This play is blocked just like zone, except for you. All right. I think it was Coach Weston. Anybody sit on that today? Loaded, right? He's going to take care of his linemen. He wants to keep things as simple as possible for his team, and that's kind of what we've always tried to do as well, especially our offensive line. Right? If you don't have an offensive line who's capable of doing what they're doing, you're going to have a hard time. 2 years ago, the year coming off COVID, we had his son starting as a sophomore, first time playing in a varsity game. We lost his freshman year as our center. We had 2 senior guards, and I think watching all the film, I had a lot of free time last year. I had a student teacher, so every day I'd sit there and break down and do a self-scout. And I'm watching teams, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a huge play. Next thing I know, it's 2-yard loss, and I can't figure out why. Both of our guards were seniors, great kids, tried really hard. They weren't working with much. And I think that whole year as I'm watching, they probably only made 5 blocks each all year. And so it's like, okay, well, that's going to change. We want to stress and frustrate the other team. All right? Our kids love it when they're on the field and they're getting ready to run a play, or they run a play, and one of the other kids go, Jesus Christ, let's go. They're running the same play over and over again. And our kids get excited about that. Right? I already talked about, I want to stress the other coaching staff as much as I can. Right? We all work hard, we're all good at what we do. But when I was defensive coordinator at Geary, just starting out, when Portland High School had Quentin Porter at quarterback, and Lance Johnson was the coach, and they're sitting there and I'm charting out all their formations and doing my hit chart on Sunday, and I've got 7 pages of formations that they're running. It's like, Jesus, this is obnoxious. Well, I kind of try to do some of that as well. Sometimes that hurts our kids. They line up wrong and don't know how to line up. Most importantly, we feel we can dictate the alignments we're getting from the fronts, from the defenses, and we can really create some matchups. We have, again, this all sounds great, and our numbers are awesome. We had a great finish to our year, but we have great athletes. We have very good players, smart kids. I think in the first semester, 18 of our 26 kids were high honors, or maybe honor roll. So we have very committed players, and they take it seriously. They probably watch as much film as the coaches do on their own. And let our athletes be athletes. This picture is a great example of this. We're playing Mountain Valley in the semifinals, and here's our senior freak athlete, one kid that we're really going to miss next year. And he catches where it's 3rd and 8. He catches a 6-yard hitch. Not a defender within 5 yards of him. He just turns around and runs right up the field. He's getting another 5 yards. Instead, second-year player, basketball player, doesn't have much of a football sense, grabs the ball in his hand and runs laterally across the field, waving the ball like this, running backwards around people, gets another 15 yards. You know what? And so it's like, in film, great play, don't ever do it again. Right? Like, that's stupid. And so we tell our kids, like, this is your job. This is what you're expected to do. But we're not going to freak out if we tell our defensive end, you're an edge player, and he goes underneath and makes a play in the backfield. And they know this. We're going to tell them in the game. We'll tell them that film. Great job. That's a great athletic play. But we also let them know, if you do something other than what you're supposed to do, if you're a defensive end and you go underneath and you don't make that play, and it hurts us, films are gonna be rough for you, you know? And our kids are okay with that, right? They understand, you know? And it's like, we want them to be athletes, we want them to do what they naturally do. Offensively, we've been pretty consistent. Yeah, we're a really run-heavy team, and I didn't bother pulling out how many, percentage of anything, but you can see, actually I did, I put it in my notes. So 2019, our first game, first year, 8-man, almost 2,900 yards rushing, 1,400 yards passing. Okay, pretty balanced as far as it goes in high school, and we had a very good year. We had our tailback was a sophomore, ran for 1,700 yards. Our junior quarterback ran for 1,000, passed for 1,400. He was the only person that threw a pass the whole year. So we were pretty good that year. We came up against Mount Ararat in the state championship game, and they're playing their 4-4, and it's like, how the hell are they covering this? And but they were bigger than us. They were stronger than us. 2021, right? Everybody had a tough year this year, coming back from COVID. We were feeling so good about ourselves here. We played in the state championship game. We lost one player that played in that game to graduation. We were excited about the kids we had coming back. We had a whole team back. It was going to be 2 separate championships, a large championship, a small championship. Let's go. We had a whole team back. The one kid we lost was a foreign exchange player. He was a kicker, and that was it. But instead, we go to 2021. We started 4 freshmen, right? Some of them both ways. We started all kinds of sophomores who were playing for the first time ever. A lot of them both ways. We had 3 seniors that played for us. And we struggled. So I looked at it last night. It's like, man, we were so unbalanced. We had 2,000 yards rushing, only 630 yards passing. Well, there's a reason. We had a freshman quarterback who we think is pretty good. He does a pretty good job for us. Very talented. He's got good talent. Smart. He was a freshman. He was 125 pounds. We were not going to put a lot on him. And so we carried the ball a ton. We had a kid in a game against Diego carry the ball 60 times. That's what we had to do. We didn't have any other running backs. The running back that we had this year was a junior that year, but he didn't come out until late because he was working. And so he didn't come out until week 1 or 2. But, job. Yeah. So that was a little different. And then obviously this last year, we were a little bit different, right? We're kind of getting away a little bit from our base formation being as high a percentage of plays, and we're getting into some other stuff, taking advantage of our athletes. But we still had a very, obviously, good season, way finished. We scored a ton, 2,300 yards rushing, 1,800 yards passing. And I think these 2 years, passing-wise, we were right at 47%. And our yards per carry were like 6.8 yards per carry. This was, I think, 5.2 yards a carry. This past year, we were at 5.7 yards a carry. And our passing completion percentage was right around 61%. So a lot of that is let's get the ball to our athletes in space, throwing stay screens, bubble screens, getting the ball to our tailbacks, running the flats, and just going and having 2 talented athletes on the edges. That one kid in the last picture, number 5, is I think around 6'1", 200 pounds, and he can absolutely fly, and he can jump out of the gym. So it's like, Brady, if you're in trouble, just throw a fade ball to Brady and see what happens. What happened? All right. So tank is our base formation. All right. As I said, we started researching this. The reason we went for this offense, 2 things. Number 1, he was the only guy that called me back when I sent out all those emails, and this is what he did. And he was, when they were 11-man, they were known historically as they had a Hall of Fame coach before him as a single wing team. And they tried to figure out how I'm going to get single wing into our 8-man offense, and this is what he came up with. But we also had our personnel. We don't have big kids. So asking our linemen to base block head up, man head up, is really tough for our kids. We didn't have great commitment to the weight room until recently, and so we're not the biggest, we're not the strongest. But the one thing that really set in was, the other coach said, it's really frustrating as a coach when I know what the other team's gonna do and we still can't stop it. And that for me has kind of been in my head since I was in high school, right? So we found it and we got his offense and we kind of folded and made it into our own. There's some great pros. Number one, we're gonna get multiple blockers at the point of attack. We have 2 fullbacks in each A gap, and they're always, one's kicking out, one's always leading through. And sometimes, depending on who we're playing and the type of players they have, we'll even wrap that backside tight end or guard and get him into the hole as well. So we're always coming with at least 2 guys to the point of attack. It creates great angles and double teams for us, something that, again, we don't have big kids. We don't have strong kids. We have small, quick kids. We need to help them out as much as possible. And so down blocking and double teams are absolutely crucial for us. They're simple, right? It's simple for the kids. Little small adjustments, you'll see, whether it's taking our wide receiver out and bringing the tight end and going really unbalanced with a 3-man surface and a 1-man surface backside, whether it's taking one of our fullbacks and lining up as a wide receiver to remove somebody from the box. Those things over the years have really paid off well for us. And as I mentioned before, it's really odd. Our kids absolutely love this. We're pretty good with the kids. And when we first introduced this, like, you know what, we're in this, we wanna knock people's dicks in the dirt. No other way to put it. And that's what we tell the kids, and they bought in and they love it. When we were 11 men, we were not a super physical team offensively. Right? We were trying to run spread. Our kids were not strong, they were not physical. It totally changed our linemen's mindsets and our running backs' mindsets. The cons, we have basically, it's very difficult to run counter. We are direct snapping to our tailback and just go into the hole. Counter has become very difficult for us. We've been working on it for a number of years. Every year we try to run it, and I look at Dean and I say, if I ever call that play again, just freaking hit me. And yet, every year we try to run it. In passing game is really tough out of this. You know, we'll try to sneak in our quarterback, who we'll run more with this year because he's older, he's bigger, he's gotten stronger. He's a very good runner, our quarterback is. But we'll try to sneak him in after a timeout or a start of possession as our tailback so that we can throw the ball. And it's very limited though what we can do in the passing game. So, this is about where the end of my technical abilities come in. Lighten it up. Just bear with me here, guys. My screen's not matching. All right, we do this. Anybody know how to mirror here? Anyway. Guys, I know how to use Huddle to watch film, and that's about it, trade film. Display. Any tech guys in here?
We can share mirrors sometimes.
Yeah. Mac format or Mac?
Yeah.
Display settings? All right, so here's tank. This is our base formation. We put both guards to the tank right, tank left call. So this would be tank right for us. It is unbalanced. Our wide receiver is over here to this side as well. Tight end backside. All right. Our hammer and our axe are a yard off the ball. We changed that a little bit. We have very athletic kids now and a little bit more talented kids. So they're a little bit deeper and they're in 3-point stance and they are in the A gaps. Our rule of thumb is always that their outside foot is splitting the inside crotch of the guard or the tight end. We changed that based on our kid. Our axe, who's a sophomore, is really quick. And we were having some issues during preseason this year and throughout the first few games where he would be so quick and our center pulls a little bit the ball that he was actually hitting the ball on the way back to our tailback. And it cost us safety against Deergo the first game because he just hit the ball and hit his arm and it went flying, 10 yards deep in the backfield. And our tailback is at 5 yards. We don't have a quarterback. And this is how we're going to play. And this is really what we did for almost the entire first year. This was our number 1 formation. Last year, number 1 formation. This year, it was a little bit closer to some other things just because of who we have. But that's basically our formation. Our hammer has to be a physical presence because he is going to kick out. He's either kicking out the defensive end when we're running power, or if we're running zone. Zone for us, we call a zone. It's basically ISO, where they're leading up on a linebacker. And our axe is a more athletic kid, very physical still, but he's always pulling, leading through. So, if you were in the counter talk this morning, he's that second guy leading through the hole, and that's always going to happen for us. And then our tailback is very simple. He's right there at 5 yards. Just catch the ball and go. All right. There's no disguise in what we do. All right, people that have played us more than once, you probably know every play we're gonna run. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. All right. I'm gonna change it next year.
That's
All
not
right.
stop this.
But this is what we're gonna do.
Different backs get the ball.
What's that? So in this, no, right? Because what can you do here? We have one tailback. There's nobody else. The first year we call it Joker and Clown, where we would direct snap to one of the backs and basically run power. Like we direct snap to our hammer and then go here, right? And that would be it. But that was more of end of the game. Our tailback just ran the ball 30 times. Let's not get him hurt for next week. And so we would just run that at the end of the game. Again, this is one of the limitations of the offense, right?
You guys are all down, right? All your backs are down.
Not anymore. So we started with this, and the reason we went to this is because the sophomore tailback we had in 2019 was a very talented runner. He was strong and he was quick, but he had absolutely zero vision or ability to change directions, put a foot in the ground and get north-south. And so he was horrible at that. So spread, eye, wasn't going to work. This is just straight downhill right now. On the power zone, we're going straight downhill right to that B gap as soon as we possibly can. We didn't want him up because we didn't want him looking at stuff. And so they were all down in a 3-point stance. This year, our starting tailback was 5'2". He had to be up, otherwise the ball's rocking over his head. And our other 2 kids, our junior tailback, it's junior, right? Asher. Our junior tailback is just one of those kids that he has zero regard for his body. He's going to just run wherever you tell him. He's going to try to run as hard as he can and hurt somebody. And so he stands up, but our freshman tailback, he's got really good vision. He's got ability to put a foot in the ground and move and make a cut. And so we said, we can put them up. Let's put them all up. All right.
How do you change your tailback?
Oh yeah, we rotate kids through. Yeah, we rotate kids through. We go to our quarterback. We played 3 tailbacks this year. We kept our freshmen out. We didn't play him much just because he's 14, and we didn't want to put a lot of pressure on him. Our blocking scheme is very simple, right? We start always with down blocks. We see a lot of 3-man fronts for the most part. We see a lot of different fronts, but we start here. We have an A-gap player, so that's an easy down block for us. Easy down block here. We're kicking out here, and we're leading through, right? And then our backside, that's going to be a hinge block, right? If there's no A-gap player, he's going to step to protect the A-gap. We struggled the first year, and even a little bit this year with backers running through the backside A-gap. So we're gonna step to protect, and then we just hinge back on the defensive end. Where's my? So this is, we call this super tank. This is an unbalanced, we take our wide receiver out, and we have 2 tight ends. We actually, for this game, we actually brought in the playoffs, we took our hammer and made him a tight end, because our second tight end wasn't very good, and a seal on the backside. And this kid is a junior, hasn't played since he was in 7th grade, but strong and fast and just nasty. And so, all this is, instead of a 2-man surface, it's giving us a 3-man surface. Right, so you'll see our down blocks, right? So we have head up here, there's no other defender, was he head up, outside? Outside shoulder, right? So it's all down, we're getting those angles, right? We're gonna kick through. Right? And that little small adjustment just created that hole. One, removed that guy one, and it gave our kid just a much cleaner lane to go through, and it creates even better angles for our secondary. That's our freshman take. I can say that's my son. But he's pretty talented. He's still trying to figure it out. He's only 14 here. So this will get a little bit more cleaner, right? This is our traditional tank. We have our receiver on the ball, our 2 guards over here. Our splits are really important. Our kids get to be a bit tight. They like each other a lot, and they get right close to each other. But you can see there, the second guy coming through, right? And we're not gonna block the people farthest away from the ball, right? And we're gonna say, our athlete, you gotta beat their athlete. But again, he's the A gap, right? This one, actually, I think it was Niles Moreno, never mind. Right? So we're good here. Not a great hinge block here, right? He was new to our program this year. He's a senior, just moved in from Colorado at the end of last school year. So we really got lucky there. But he's got a hinge down so that he can't get penetration to allow cutback. For this kid, this is our 5'2" kid, little water bug. Tough. I had clips against the 4-man front, but I wanted to give you an opportunity, and I guess I rambled a little bit. I'm known for that. And if you have any questions about anything, our offense, I want to show you a little bit. Again, we try to be very multiple. We have multiple player packages. We put in players. We have a kid as a wide receiver, as a senior, caught 2 passes all year. Probably the biggest one of them was on the first drive in the state championship game. He was third and 12 or whatever, he caught a 30-yard fade. Right? He's the second pass he caught all year. Right? And so we'll take kids. If a kid shows up to practice, we're gonna find ways to get him on the field. And we have all our spread packages, we have all that. And in the first 7 plays against Orono, I think we ran, I counted last night, 6 different formations and play improvements. Right? And that just goes back to, we want to stress the other person. We want to see how they're adjusting to motion. We want to see how they're gonna line up in our power formations and tank. Super tank, and then we're going to try to find what's the one thing that's going to work. And in that game, it was super tank. And I think the entire second half, we were in super tank.
Do you script that in practice?
Yeah, we practice all that stuff in practice. Game plan wise, I script out my first 10. I think I very rarely get through them all. And I have my game plan. There's probably 100 plays on there, and when it comes down to it, if we can run tank every time, we're going to run tank every time. Right? If we control the clock, that gives us big play, and it's body blows. We pride ourselves with the clip I had on here, was I think it was the first play of the game. It was a 4-yard game. Our kids understand we love 4-yard games. That's our goal. Because those 4-yard games eventually become 15-yard games, eventually become 30-yard games, 40-yard games, and it gets everybody else sucking up. And so now when we do go out, when we throw the ball, we put it back on the field, we're usually going to win that battle. Right? Because we got everybody coming up stuff on. Jim?
Tried to run commentary on that? I would.
Yeah, we had it. I hooked up with gotten rid of it, said every time we run it, it doesn't work. That's because, again, last year we had new players. You know, we had a small, weaker center. We had 2 senior guards that didn't really do well. We do it, we did it a few times in the state game, and I think against some other thing against Deergo, we did it where we'll put, again, those small adjustments, we'll put both of our hammer and axe on the same side, and they become our pulling line. And so our tailback just takes the ball, takes a jab, step lays running power, and comes back. It's not a huge play for us, but we keep people honest, and our kids see that when they start over adjusting, we'll go back and run
You
that.
say don't pull the 2 linemen out.
No, we had something we did in 2019. We had different types of linemen. We called it. I can't remember what we called it. But we added a guard as well. A guard, so we had a guard, our hammer, and our axe, all pulling 1 kick out, 2 leading through for the back. If we're running counter, we're going to be under center. We added eye this year. My son has got good vision, and so he's a good eye back, and we have a really good fullback who's strong, talented, and fast, and so we want to find ways to get him the ball. I thought when I put this together, he was in 8th grade, I'm like, yes, Reed is going to be a dominant running back. First day of practice his sophomore year. Okay, Reed, your turn. Takes a snap, back off his hands. Next one, right off his chest. Reed, what's going on? Coach, I can't catch. Okay, well, I guess you can't do that. And so we had to find, we wanted to find a way to get him. We watched Shepherd's last year, we loved. When we were deciding between offenses, we were either going double tights on eye, or we were doing this. And we settled on this because of the personnel we had.
I think one thing that, as coaching said, John, he has got our linemen to know techniques and saying those techniques. So if we game plan for a team, but if you adjust and start stopping this, John can quickly tell the lineman, okay, now you're gonna reach him down, and our linemen get it. They know what blocks he wants and who to get. It's not, it doesn't take for us a lot for us to adjust to a different alignment situation.
One thing we teach our kids, we don't know, we can tell you what we think, we're gonna show you what we think the other team will line up in, but we've learned that it doesn't matter what we do, other teams will do other stuff.
I'm just looking at the same type of trap.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry I went so long, guys. We really long one, I apologize for that. If you have any questions, our contact information, Dean, contact the high school, get Dean's information. Jason's on the town website. We're open, we'll give you everything we have. We love talking football, and so we don't mind sharing any thoughts we have. We love learning. We beg, steal, and borrow from everybody. And so, by all means, I've taken something from almost everybody we played against. I've taken something that they do and added it into ours. So, you know, we love to share. Thank you. Appreciate you all sitting and listening.
Thank you, guys. Guys, we'll take a couple of minutes here, and then we'll get Coach Biden on deck.
Proceed with this.